Using caravans, workshops and more, we're going to take Jeff here from a
"You're broke!"
to a
"'Cause I'm a G!"
In this video, you'll learn how to operate caravans, workshops and fiefs, turning them into money-making machines. Let's get into it. Equipped with only 1,000 dinars and the clothes on his back, Jeff was excited to start his business venture. He started off by stripping naked and selling all of his belongings to the nearest town. He won't need them where he's going. Next, he bought up the town's supply of hogs, chopped them up and sold their carcasses back to the town, which basically doubled his bank account. Next, he found a woman that was willing to stroke his bald head at night, charmed her with his knowledge of entrepreneurship, and married her. Little did she know, she was actually an employee. He took her to a town, stripped her down, sold all of her belongings, impregnated her, and left her there. Job well done, he said. Next, he needed to start his caravan empire. To do this, he would need some more starting capital. So, he invested some time into smithing, buying low-tier weapons, smelting them down, and turning them into two-handed swords he could sell for profit. Sometime later, he reached 100,000 dinars and was ready to get his caravans out. He hired one from a local merchant and put his wife in charge of it. Hired another employee from a local tavern who had a good trade skill and sent them out with another caravan. These two caravans will create some passive income for Jeff and make it easier for him to focus on other areas. Speaking of, his trade skill was looking low. Time to exploit the system. He took the leftover metals he had from smithing and headed to Sanala. Waited outside for a caravan to approach, sold all but his steel to the caravan, entered the town and sold his steel. Then bought all the metals back from the caravan and then bought his steel back from the town. This drives down the market price for the metals and makes the game believe that he will sell them for a profit. He repeated the process one more time and boom, 350 trade skill. Now it's time for perks. We definitely want to grab this perk that gives us renown for every caravan we have. Then this one that gives 25% increase in workshop production. Also this one that gives any money back when our caravans are destroyed. Spring of Gold is also a great one that gives us interest on the dinars we have laying around in the bank. And finally, everything has a price, which will allow Jeff to buy castles and towns instead of taking them by force. With his newfound skills in hand, it's time to start gathering a workforce. Jeff scoured the land looking for his new employees. When he found them, he put them all to work leading caravans around Calradia. Business was booming, but Jeff knows to stay on top, he has to innovate. Whilst looking for some good trade deals in the local market, he comes across a merchant. He began networking and was told of workshops. The merchant showed Jeff his books on how much money he was making from these workshops. Jeff's eyes lit up and immediately began researching. By the conversation he had with the merchant and the research he did after, he started to become more confident. If his idea was correct, he could make more money by placing workshops in towns with high prosperity. But also, velvet weaveries, smithies and silversmiths were looking like the most profitable. So, with his new idea behind him, he rode out firstly to Maranoth. He purchased all 3 workshops there and turned them into one smithy, one velvet weavery and one silversmith. He could only have a maximum of 7 workshops. So, in the next 2 towns, Jaculin and Sanala, he purchased all 3 of the workshops but turned one of them into a brewery and sold it back to the merchant. The other 2 became a velvet weavery and a silversmith. Doing this, he made sure there wasn't any competition in the town and also made sure that the workshops that was controlled by the merchant wouldn't chain production from a brewery to the more profitable ones, as it would still make a small profit daily. These 7 workshops were bringing in a huge profit, and Jeff's bank balance started to rise significantly. Next on his list was to establish his business for the public. To do this, he must own a fief and speak to a companion inside the fief. So, with his newly found wealth, he approached the Lord and asked him for a price on one of his castles. With a generous price agreed on, Jeff was now the new owner. He rushed over and established his business, Amazon. Straight after that, he sold the castle back to a lord. It was a decent castle, but Jeff wanted something bigger for his head office. At least for now, his business was established. Jeff set his sights on Revel. This was a perfect location, great view, great defensive position, and a decent prosperity. He tracked down the Lord of Revel and asked for a price. The price was high, but worth it, and the deal was made. When he reached Revel, it was a mess. He was making a loss, if anything. So, he cancelled all building projects, fired the whole garrison, and turned on festival and games. In a few days, the thief was in profit. Just another investment for the portfolio, he says. And that began the empire of Amazon. The rest is a story for another day. If you want to know how I infiltrated the Vlandian Empire in 50 days, then watch this video here.